And we will get going in just a moment. All right. Well, it's week 3 from the extended campus of SMU here in Dallas. Hope that you are doing well and staying healthy and protecting those around you. Welcome. If this is your first visit, that's great. My name is Peter Davis. I am a professor in the SMU Sports Management Master's Program here in Dallas and will be your host today. If you've been here before, that's great. Welcome back. And if you haven't, we are really pleased to have you here today. Any of our prior recording or webinars have been recorded and are living on at snodgrasspartners.com, so you can check out what we've done before. Likewise, after you see this today, if there's something you want to go back and review, you can certainly do so. It'll probably take us a few hours to get the video loaded onto snodgrasspartners.com, but we will be sure to get that done. So, and while you're there, you can check out Snodgrass Partners and see what they do for their clients, specifically in the intercollegiate athletics industry. There's some really good stuff. Speaking of which, I am really excited at some of the news I'm seeing, whether in the trade media, national media, here on campus at SMU, or even when I get to walk across the street and chat with a student athlete at the University of Michigan that's getting excited to go back to her field hockey team here shortly. So all of those seem like positive changes, positive directions for us. So I hope that things do continue to roll positively in that vein, certainly here in Dallas and wherever you're joining us from today. I missed college athletics already, and we're not even to the summer practice season yet. So hopefully we get back a little bit back to what we consider normal. I'm sure the new normal will be just that, a new normal. But all working together, we can really make this work, not only for ourselves, but certainly for the student athletes, the fans, the sponsors, and everybody else involved. Here's the crazy thing, though, about this summer, for me anyways, is trying to figure out where I can get the whole truth on any story. Yeah, and there are so many stories this summer. Where do you find the whole truth? And I guess the answer is probably nowhere. Who's telling the whole truth? Nobody, because everybody has their own personal bias. They have their own actions. They have their agenda. They have their needs that they're trying to satisfy. And that's okay. But at the same time, there are a lot of times I'm looking for that unbiased information that I crave. And it's just hard to figure out where to get it. So I'm trying to figure that out on a daily basis. But one thing you can tell for sure is messaging and communication is extraordinarily important. And we are fortunate enough to have with us today our guest, David Cerroti from Front Porch Athletics, and he knows the messaging and communication side better than anyone, or certainly as well as anyone. He's joining us from New Jersey today. And Front Porch Athletics is an allied partner of Snodgrass Partners. For those of you that have been with us before, Snodgrass Partners recognizes that they can't be everything to everyone and have developed a network of other experts and consultants out there in the athletics industry and broader business industry to assist Snodgrass Partners clients when it's needed, or quite frankly, to assist Snodgrass Partners when they need assistance on something. So the great part about Front Porch Athletics is David and his team are trusted advisors. I could turn this off here and just go me. Our trusted advisors who provide athletic departments with affordable and high impact opportunities to enhance revenue, increase attendance, and just connect more effectively with campuses, whether that the campus community, the alumni, and certainly the student athletes themselves. So David, not just Front Porch Athletics, but David brings a unique perspective in that he's got we'll call it a 30+ year love affair with the campus environment, but he mixes that with a Fortune 500 background as well and a rich on-campus resume. So he has served in an administrative role in the collegiate side of things, both at the campus level and at a conference level. And he's also helped run a regional sports network. So you take all that and you add to it the opportunities he's had to do like I get to do and teach on the campus. He's been at St. John's and at Seton Hall teaching. But then in 2004, David stepped into the Fortune 500 and he joined the corporate world where he worked with Coldwell Banker Real Estate for 13 years, leading their marketing, communications, PR, sponsorship, partnership efforts, and learning a whole bunch of things. But also, I can't even imagine how excited they were to have him on the sponsorship and partnership side, knowing the inside of some of those things, of some of those pieces of business. So as we do move through the material today, David's asked that, and I will, that you share your questions as we go through. You'll see somewhere on your screen, you'll see a Q&A button that you can click on, and you can send the questions to us. We will try to get through everybody's questions today. I know that there's likelihood that we won't. We've got 45 minutes. We'll do all that we can. But if we don't get to your question, we have that cataloged and we can get back to you directly if that's appropriate to do so. So we'll do our best to fit everything in. But please do send questions in as we go here. So with that, I'm going to pop up a poll. I'm actually curious on this front. I'm curious to see what kind of, outside of the collegiate athletics side of things, where have people had experience? So I'd love for you to take a look at this and vote for us. Tell us where you've been working. So we've got a little bit idea who's out there. But David, I'm gonna, as people are voting, I'm gonna say welcome, and I'm gonna hand the trackpad to you. I'd love for you to share anything with us about Front Porch Athletics that I've missed or botched. Right. And you can show us where you guys are really helping athletics departments drive bottom line results as you go through this, because really what I want is today, I want people to join us and understand how to think outside of maybe the traditional revenue box of the campus environment.
Well, I think the poll is really interesting because I remember my days in college sports, and I always wondered, where would I fit outside the bubble? What kind of position could I hold? Was I back then when I was in sports information, would I be in an agency, a PR agency? Like, what was I?
Sure.
It's very confusing to me. And then when I was in corporate America, you mentioned love affair, that's what it is. Every level, I love it, of college sports. And I realized the difference between corporate America and college sports was basically their planning and their execution is hyper-focused on one goal. And that goal is for the organization. There is no such thing as people doing whatever they want. When that happens, you don't have a good organization. When you see everybody going towards one objective, one goal, and it may be multiple because you have different publics, but everybody's there together. They're integrated. There's no such thing anymore as the advertising group doing their thing, the promotions group doing another, the PR team doing their other thing, their platform web development doing their own thing, and the social team. It's too hard to break through. So when I first walked into corporate America, I was a college sports guy. I was like everybody else. I used to do what they had floors for at Realogy, the corporation. I used to do myself, from desktop publishing to going out and trying to get sponsorships. They had specific departments. So I started to think, and I would call my friends in college sports and say, are you guys planning? Are you goal setting? Are you integrating? Do you have a plan? And I kept hearing, huh? No. I would say, do you have KPIs? What's that? I say, key performance indicator. How do you know if you're doing well in your job? In corporate America, if you don't meet your KPIs, you're in danger.
Sure.
So,
Coaches certainly have those, right?
right,
Yeah.
but do athletic departments? Do each of the departments know where they're going within the marketing group? So your PR, which would be your sports information, your marketing, maybe your fan engagement promotions, your social team, whoever's running your website. Are you integrating with your sales team, whether it's Van Wagner or the other groups that are obviously working? Are you helping them with their quote unquote marketing communications? Everything should be flowing to sales. Now, that doesn't just mean a sale of a sponsorship, it should mean the school. And I think that was one of the big things that I realized when I was away from college athletics and watching it
Mhm.
is I think if you were to ask people in college sports, what's their job? What are they there for? What's their why? I think we
Yeah.
struggle. The why is to promote the university, to promote the college, to bring students in and to allow the students that are there to enjoy themselves. If that happens, that increases alumni engagement. You also have revenue opportunities, you have attendance, which matters, you have engaging your students, alumni, and college community, and then the business community.
And
But
that's really interesting. I actually want you to
yeah,
pause right there because I think that's something that certainly, yeah, my 10 years at the NCAA, things can get lost. And I think you're exactly right. The idea is to promote the university. That's why athletics exists.
well,
It's
that's what Dean Smith said. That's where the name Front Porch Athletics came from.
share that story. That's great.
Yeah, that I always loved the quote, and we put it on the website. We had a young man design our header at frontporchathletics.com, and it's athletics is to the university like the front porch is to a home. It's the most visible part, yet certainly not the most important. But I think in a way, and I can tell you, many in college sports have lost that understanding. So even when the NCAA tournament came in corporate America, the idea in college sports is everybody's talking about it. Everybody's doing their brackets. I got news for you, Peter. I'd walk in at 9 o'clock. Oh my God, what do you think? With two people, by
Yep.
9:10, the day started, and we are not thinking about college sports. That first day of games, when everybody's all into it in the bubble, there are millions of corporate meetings and business meetings, and we're just not focused on it. So it's a bubble that we have to break through.
That's right. And again, it's about promoting the university. And there are going to be people that they're like, that's not my job. Well, kind of it is. If
It
the
is.
athletic departments are there to provide opportunities for student athletes, to provide opportunities for students.
Mm-hmm.
But really, the bottom line, the reason that we're spending tens of millions of dollars on athletics is not to win a national championship. I mean, that's a nice side item to it. The rationale is to drive alumni giving, to drive attendance, to drive applications to that school. That is the purpose.
And I think that for what we are really focused on is the belief that at that top level, that's not what it is. It's a machine. It's a business. Let's be realistic.
Sure.
The next level down, that's why we have it. And Don Harnum, the athletic director at Ryder, really helped me and helped us understand what we were trying to do. How could we articulate it? And what we really came up with was our mission is to help you increase revenue, put people in the seats, help you engage with the communities that you serve, and also look at your business community outside the walls of campus. At the same time, really focus in on student enrollment and retention. And what we realized from there is there are tactics that every athletic department has at their disposal.
Mm-hmm.
First one that we've been exploring is the streaming broadcasting. We have to help people understand this is not a game broadcast. Don't view it that way. View it instead, Peter, that it's a new marketing channel for you. And one of the things that we talk about that I don't think the term has hit the college athletic departments yet, but the marketing funnel is a term that's used routinely in marketing. We have a image of it on our website of what the funnel is. I don't know if you have that.
Yeah, I can pull that up.
Okay. So the concept of that is you've got at the top of the funnel, you're creating awareness, and then you're pulling them in so that you want them to do something ultimately, take action. So the thing that's funny about college sports, when I was in corporate America, everybody talked about, oh my God, I wish we were college sports and we had a built-in audience. It would be so easy. You have the audience. What we're not doing is telling the audience what to do. So how many times have I watched a game on Flow Sports or ESPN Plus and I get the institutional ad?
Mm-hmm.
Already in. What do you want me to do? Whether I'm a parent, a donor, an alum, I'm in the community and I love watching it, or I'm the visiting team looking for to watch the game because I love my team. I'm
Right.
in the funnel. Where do I go? What do I do?
Yeah, because so many times it's a great soundtrack and a great collage of images,
It's what it is.
but there's no call to action.
When I've spoken to CMOs, business leaders, and I say to them, if I gave you a 2-hour and 15 window, and the only thing you could not touch was 40 minutes of a basketball game, per se, that's live action. You could do anything else you want. What would you do? Oh my God, I'd promote my product. I'd show testimonials. I'd have all sorts of things going on. I'd show I'd do everything. That's how they think. We think it's a game.
Right.
It's not right today.
And to be clear, what you're saying there is the opportunity is not necessarily to add additional advertisers. It's to tell the story of the university
Tell the story of the university. Now, it may be to tell the story of your partners.
Sure.
It may be to encourage participation. There's a lot of different elements because of the numbers of publics that there are. So in any corporation, there's shareholders, there's consumers, there are vendors, there are internal stakeholders. Every group has multiple publics.
Sure.
So college sports shouldn't be saying, oh my God, we've got too many people to take care of.
Especially if you've got a 2-hour and 15-minute window to talk to all those different publics.
Then the next thing we've been looking at is the modern digital advertising footprint. And how can schools affordably reach their target audience? Who is their target, number one? And how do you go get them? Where is your content? Is your content engaging? Which means you better be using video a lot.
Sure.
Do you have landing pages that you're driving? Are you doing retargeting? Are you reaching them where they are? All of these digital advertising options are there. They're not being utilized. Then when you think about one of the tactical things that's kind of funny to me, every school has a streaming broadcast. Every school, if you go on ESPN during, I think it's called the Gamecast, get just about everything happening in real time during the game. Why are we wasting our Twitter feed live tweeting the game?
Essentially, why are you competing?
You're competing. Instead, use that as a new channel. So you just have to think differently.
So use Twitter to drive people to the broadcast.
Correct. Or augment the broadcast.
Oh, you better said, yes.
Correct. So you've got you've got your streaming broadcasts we're looking at with the focus. Obviously, there's a lot in the mix. You've got your digital advertising footprint. You've got your storytelling, and then you also have the opportunity to increase sellable opportunities. So I want to hit storytelling for a minute. because I've been in meetings where people say, oh my God, if you're a college sports team or you're a pro sports team, they got stories out the wazoo. Why aren't we telling them? It doesn't make sense to me. We're not telling the story of the school through the lens of the student athletes. They are the greatest single ambassadors of any school. I would argue to anybody that the student athletes are the best representation of a school, bar none. When I was at St. Peter's College at the time, I was the head of public affairs. If I needed a quote from a student, I just went to athletics. Get me a kid who's majoring in whatever, because they were responsible, they were articulate, they were used to deadlines, easy to work with.
Sure.
You've got it. So then what we've created is almost a 2-year plan, Peter. First year, we help everybody kind of rethink differently. Second year, we help go cross campus. The great divide. Why does the divide exist? And I was part of the divide, and oh my God, when I worked at Seton Hall, John Paquette, Larry Keating, Joe Quinlan, they'll all attest, I'd walk right into the fire. And I got burned. But my corporate America time, I realized it's only because their job is different from athletics. They're not seeing it. They're not included in it. And we all get frustrated. It's like French to Spanish. We get frustrated.
Sure.
So it's easier to just detach. The reality is, if athletics had that support, the school had the athletic support, things really start percolating, so we can play that third party to mend defenses. And then by year 3, the hope is that the whole university is saying, oh my goodness, look at what athletics can do for us. So I'll give you a great example. You do a video about a player, and you're going to have B-roll of the player playing the game or at practice.
Sure. You get that from the webcast. You got B-roll there.
Right? The student, let's say the student is majoring in chemistry. So you're going to get a shot of the student in their white lab coat and with a beaker. Well, go back, create your video. But then why not do another version, eliminate most of the basketball or football or baseball, softball B-roll, add some more shots in chemistry. Now the chemistry department has a video about chemistry.
And developing that content now compared to even 5 years ago is remarkably different. Just the cameras that are put in, exactly, the cameras that are put inside our phones now are better, literally better than the TV production cameras that were used 15 years ago. The quality is there. So, and on top of that, I would imagine, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong on this, I guess it could go either way, but I would think it would be beneficial that student athletes or students in general are more accustomed to being in front of a camera now than ever before, because they're developing their own content through social media.
Yep, it started really, if you remember those days where the younger people, we'd sit down for lunch with them and we started eating and they started taking pictures of their food.
Yeah.
Now they've evolved. Their whole life is on camera. It's not just on posting.
Yeah.
It's all of it, from TikTok to Twitter to Facebook to Instagram. They're used to it more than we are.
Right.
They're ambassadors. And I think one of the other really important things that we've seen, first of all, in the poll, what did it show?
Oh yeah. Here, let me
go back
pop
to
it
that
up for you. I'll share results. So we got a number of people, I think, that are working almost exclusively in intercollegiate athletics, and I don't think that's a surprise to us. It's about what
no. So I've been looking at, the easiest way to do it is the back of the Sports Business Journal. Every week they have the job announcements, and I think there's been 4 people in there in college sports in like a year that have come from outside college sports, which means all we're doing is we're transferring college sports think, and the bubble has maintained. Now, here's what happens too that's really interesting, Peter.
Yeah.
That in corporate America, while the pandemic is awful, no one has seen anything like this. But the model of job cuts, budget cuts, reorganization is sometimes in a struggling corporation would be almost by the quarter based on stock price. And you would have the march to who's not going to be there on Monday. So we were used to that. It wasn't fun. It was not enjoyable. But at any given moment, your budget could just be shoot, cut programming, nope, cut. So now, obviously, the pandemic is horrible. There's no denying it. But really, for the first time, there's a crack in the college sports cocoon. And unfortunately, there's furloughs.
Yes.
Unfortunately, there's drastic budget cuts when you're not getting your NCAA money.
Well, that's different. That's hit the corporate world forever.
Forever.
For the first time, it's really hitting the collegiate landscape.
And when you look at the athletic directors that I've spoken to, if your team has to be unfortunately tightened, people, jobs not coming back or salary reductions or whatever it is, you can't keep doing the same old thing. It's not going to work. And we have to rethink what's important. And that's where that goal setting goes, because everyone in college sports wants to do well. All of us were unbelievable workers and we worked tirelessly. Unfortunately, if you look, we kind of did that whole John Wooden thing about what was it? It's on our website. Let me, I always forget it. I get it screwed up. But John Wooden's quote was, activity does not equal achievement. And I think when we look at our jobs in college sports, a lot of us are just doing for doing's sake.
Sure.
Because we haven't been told what to do.
Right.
We haven't been told what to do.
Or we've been told what to do and we're not thinking beyond those walls.
We can't because we're so busy.
Yeah, busy. That's great.
You look at everybody's job and they're crazed. You know, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. Then you're exhausted and nothing on the large scale was accomplished. That's why, to me, if we can help athletic directors set some goals for their teams, whether it's we need to increase, so take this as an example. If I said to everybody on this call, your job is to help us increase revenue by 25%. We're out 400,000 from the NCAA. We got to get some money back.
And I got to believe that's going to be a realistic ad. That's coming if it hasn't
right?
come to everybody on this call.
So now, if you think about from a marketing perspective, sales perspective, sports information perspective, ticketing perspective, cause marketing, which would be the going out and working with some of the less fortunate. How is that work that you've been doing going to impact on that revenue? And then what you would say, if it's not impacting on revenue and you can't prove it, don't
do it.
Don't do it.
Yep.
You just can't afford it today. And that may be a different mindset, because the belief is everybody who's working in external affairs or marketing, whatever you call it, at the school, the reality is they are marketers. They may not realize it, but they're marketers. Marketing's job is that funnel. You get them in and you get them to do something. Marketing and sales go hand in hand.
No question.
How can we help everybody? That's what we're trying to do.
That's great. I remember I had the fortune of working under 3 presidents at the NCAA, and Miles Brand for the longest period of time. And I recall Dr. Brand, almost as soon as he assumed his leadership role at the NCAA, developed a strategic plan for the NCAA. And there were basically 5 pillars that we were charged with. And any initiative we were working on, we had to identify which of those 5 pillars we were supporting. And if we weren't supporting one of those 5 pillars, we weren't doing it. Like there was
So
no
let me
more funding, there was no
explain.
more management for that.
It's really interesting because I've been asked by a lot of people, what did you do in corporate management? Like, what's this planning thing? So here's how it would work. CEO says this is what we need to accomplish.
Sure.
Chief marketing officer, who I would be under, and any of the marketing people would come up with an overall theme. How are we going to impact on the goal the CEO set? We then come together as a group.
Mhm.
It 2-3 days of getting after it, blood, sweat, and tears, and you've got those big sticky pads.
Yeah.
Everybody's writing, and you're thinking. You're doing all these amazing exercises. Keep, start, stop. You're doing SWOT analysis. You're doing everything.
And you're not developing creative concepts right now.
No,
These are big
you're
picture.
just big picture organizing. You then would come up with, we all agree on 3 or 4 objectives that we may be able to accomplish for the year.
Mhm.
Each department then goes back and puts their plan together. How are we going to impact on those 4 things? So public relations, what do you do? Social media, advertising, website, promote whatever group is there. How are they going to impact on those 4? You come back and you present again. It's another 2 days. Then what happens is those 4 things, 1 or 2 might disappear,
Mhm.
because we realize that 1 or 2 initiatives for the year with everybody behind it, oh my goodness, the power of it.
Well, that's something else that could resonate here to the group that's on watching is so now you've put 4-6 days into, like, really concentrated days into developing these ideas or opportunities, and some of them fall away. Not dissimilar to how some people are approaching, well, this is how we've done it the last 3 years. Just because it was done the last 3 years doesn't mean
It's
that's
every
supporting
year.
this year's objective. You
And
got to
then
take a
it's
look at
every
it and see.
week.
Yeah, and then right,
It's
exactly.
every week, because one of the other mistakes that I see over and over, and it's not intended, nobody's doing it deliberately. If you say the traditional start of college sport, let's say August 15th
Right.
is the first day, you could plan and think ahead. What happens on August 15th? You are off to the races, and I won't see you until the
You can't look back.
of baseball or the last baton being passed in track.
Right.
Then you'll come up for air. But if I held you accountable for your actions all year long, when the athletic director or the quote unquote CMO of the department says, I am here to help you navigate your way through so that you can do the important job at task. You may run into problems. You will. I had to do it because there's just not enough time in the day. So you need that support, but you
Right.
also need everybody else within the department knowing what you're doing.
I'm looking for a note from last week's conversation that fit that extremely well, and I just can't find it. But essentially, Jeff Moore from More Leadership was saying much of the same, and how you charge your coaches. And it can't just be about winning. There's got to be a mental shift, a mental attitude shift that you've got. It's about becoming a champion, perhaps not on the field, but becoming a champion in all aspects and really putting forth the right effort. Not just, I think he said, like, winners show and champions work. And it's the same kind of thing here. The winners are just
Well, I know.
spouting
Yeah,
statistics, and you can't be that.
Kerry Keating on the call. Kerry was just a young man when I worked at Seton Hall. He was Larry Keating's son, who was our athletic director. Kerry went on to become the head coach at Santa Clara.
He's also suggested in the Q&A, by the way, that it's a good thing you're using quotes from Coach Wooden and UNC rather than PJ.
Well, PJ would be, that's a whole other story. I've been actually PJ about Front Porch Athletics. And it's okay. So why, for example, why did PJ know? Inherently, his job was he was the head cheerleader for the school. He was the front porch. He understood that.
Mm-hmm.
Where too many coaches today are concerned with the winning part. They're running a basketball or football or softball corporation. No, no. You've got to support the marketing group. Just like when I was the PR leader of Coldwell Banker, I needed the CEO to be out front. I need the coach. I needed the Carrie, right?
Sure.
And Carrie understood at Santa Clara that if Santa Clara won, Santa Clara wins. If his basketball team, if Brandy Chastain can get exposure for being the assistant coach, Santa Clara wins. Why? Student enrollment, retention, revenue from alums, the whole thing works.
Goes back to what we said earlier. It's about the school. It's
Right.
about the school, the brand of the school.
About the school. You don't work in a bubble.
And by the way, if you're promoting the school in that way, it's not like Brandy's name isn't going to start to attract other female student athletes. It's going to. So it's a bifurcated win.
Right. When you have, I'm blanking on her name, on the Little League pitcher who's had Hampton today, LaShawn Davis, or Monet Davis, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Davis going to Hampton did more for Hampton athletics and Hampton University than probably the last 5 years of everybody who's paid a salary to promote the school did in seconds. It's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
That's the power of sports. And that's the power of we're never going to turn off our society loving sports. What we have to do now from a marketing perspective is harness that love and drive it to where at the end of the year, an athletic director can go to his or her president and say, look what we did. Look what we did.
Sure.
And I want to tie it to all of the goals that are set, including enrollment and retention. It's really that simple.
That's great. And so tell us about, we were talking about the funnel earlier. How, where else should schools and universities be looking? You kind of surface level. And I'm sure you can help. There's surface level, and your group can help to the bottom of the ocean on uncovering different revenue opportunities and assets and sort of thing. But is there something just on the surface that, beyond what we've already said, that they ought to just be thinking about? I mean, is it training student athletes to tag their school? Is it training them to provide somebody with their content? How else can they get out?
Well, all of that is why. Once you establish the why you're doing the job, everything changes and it becomes easier. What I think is the most important thing is for the athletic director to be able to declare 3 to 5 measurable goals for the marketing group. Not wins and losses, but real tangible ideas that can be attacked. Then you can go and figure out how to do it. So if I say revenue enhancement, at the top of your funnel, you're going to identify who can provide revenue.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to corporate America and business, so that's where your IMGs and your Van Wagners and the others can help. Revenue's there. Alumni can help with revenue. People who live in the community can help with revenue. Students, can they help with revenue? If you say, yeah, because every time the student comes and they're buying a hot dog, sure. So you identify those opportunities. How am I going to then reach them? Am I going to do traditional advertising? Outdoor, newspaper, print, radio, TV? Am I going to do digital advertising? How am I using social media and my content machine to suck them in? If we believe in this day and age that it's going to be harder to get the big whale donations,
Yep.
we need to nickel dime it to Coach Raftery. If we're going to get $5, $10 from alums, how are we going to hook them in? With our content. Our content can't be wins and losses. It can't be our 20-point score because everybody has one of them. How are we going to draw you in? For each of the publics comes a plan to draw them in. Then when they're drawn in, where do they go? So the original sports marketing theory, I still have the original textbook, with steps going like this.
Yeah.
The story was the Boston Celtics of the Bird Parrish McHale era. The Celtics had to do nothing to get people to be aware, buy a shirt, watch a game, go to a game, buy the 3 to 5 game package, buy the season tickets, buy the parking pass. Eventually they fall up and somebody else comes. So back then they didn't have to do anything.
Right.
Boston Garden was sold out. So by not doing anything, the steps weren't going. So who are our steps? And how do you get people engaged? They're not all going to buy tickets. What else do you want them to do? The other big thing I would think about is colleges and pro teams are the only brands in the world where people pay at mass to wear your logo.
Absolutely true. There's
Okay?
3D advertising everywhere.
Nike figured it out because they put their logo on the sports apparel.
Mm-hmm.
And they turned it into a brand. Coca-Cola, Nike, and maybe a few others have created a brand that can stand on its own, that we have pride, we want to wear it. So if you have an army of people, no matter how big or small your school is, that are wearing your colors, activate them. Don't just talk to them, activate them. That's the power of this. That's what marketing is. And I think, unfortunately, college sports has kind of looked at it as, we're here to just inform you and we'll have fun along the way. But there's not a true rhyme or reason to why we're doing it.
That's good. So I'm going to go back to the why statement, and I know that I'm a big believer in, and I think you are as well. I've seen you recommend it, but the Simon Sinek TED Talk.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to actually, I don't have the exact link, but I sent it out in the chat section. He did a TED Talk on why, and if you haven't seen it, it's probably what, 8 or 12 minutes, something like that.
Right.
It is well worth your time. It'll be something that you just sit and you look at the screen, the subject is why, and you'll be like, why haven't I thought of that? It's so simple and basic, but his description on why Apple has been successful is just so succinct and easy to understand. And I think there's an opportunity for everybody out here to do that. And everything you're saying today makes perfect sense, but it's also not required. It's very much appreciated and very helpful, but it's not required that the athletic director be the one to begin this pyramid of why. It may be that you've got your general sense of direction, but you don't have that pyramid, as you said, where the CEO's mandating or dictating, but you can, as an individual, start that for yourself and anybody that's working for you, to be able to be all supporting the same pillar, the same structure, the same priority.
Sort of.
Okay.
Because, and Angela wants me to Fox Run Group, and I'm sure there are others who are out there. So sorry, don't mean to upset anybody.
Yeah, my wife works for Learfield, so I should throw that in too, right?
Okay, Lear too. So the sales piece is critical. So in most organizations, the sales group runs everything. And they dictate how you're going to go to market. But the reason I take pause with what you said, Peter,
yeah,
that's sort of happening now.
That's a good point.
You have a department doing what they do, but they're not networking with the others. The problem you run into if the quote unquote leadership doesn't support this is, I think we all have these horrible examples of, you've got the big game coming up and a coach walks in whose season's like 8 months away and they start demanding something from you and you're stuck. If you're able to have, look, you know our goals. And right now, I just have to focus on my goals to get us to where we're going.
Sure.
That coach may go off the rails and start screaming, and you just got to please go talk to.
But you know somebody's got your back.
Right. That's the key. It's they got your back. And there's an arbiter, because don't forget, When I said before, you have to interpret what you're doing is impacting the goal. You may be able to say, this is why I'm doing it, and this is my thought process. This is why. So take a basic cause marketing that we're going to take our basketball team to a hospital. Is that going to generate tickets? Yes or no? No. Would you argue the goodwill because I've worked with the sports information and social media teams? We're going to blast it out. We're also going to be creating Muhlenberg Hospital night at the Panthers, and we just created revenue that way. Everybody's going to say, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Where it goes wrong is you just did it.
And then the PR from the universities didn't even know about it.
Right. No one knew. There was an example of, I was asked to go to a game. You'll see the greatest marketing thing anybody's ever seen. We're giving away a scholarship at halftime to a student who's at the game. I walked in. The sports information person is a longtime friend. How are you? Oh, I came because of the scholarship thing. What scholarship thing?
So everybody that he talks to had no idea what was happening.
No idea. So how did that translate across campus? Did the head of marketing at the school, did the head of PR for the school know? I don't know.
Yeah.
Did the students even know? So here's a great idea that wasn't executed perfectly.
Yeah.
So that's what we're here to help, Peter, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. If there are any other questions, please do cue them through the Q&A piece. But I just want to say an enormous thank you, David, to you and Front Porch Athletics for being part of today. If we don't get to all the questions today, as I said, we will follow up. We'll be able to share some responses with you. And that please remember, this webinar will be available for the next 24 hours. So if you're watching this and thinking, wow, this makes a ton of sense, but my boss or boss's boss needs to see it, we'll have that up on snodgrasspartners.com. So you could probably even pull a clip out of that and just and share it with the appropriate people. But we'd love to have you do that. Likewise, we'd love to have you share this forum with others in your department, so they know what's coming. And looking forward to next week, we've got actually, so Snodgrass Partners is kind of the one that's put together these webinars. Well, not kind of, they are. And next week, we're going to hear from Steve Snodgrass and Ron Prettyman at Snodgrass Partners as they talk about the world of sports jobs. They're coming back. There are going to be opportunities for jobs. There are going to be opportunities for promotions, for lateral moves. They are coming back. So the concept next week is a conversation around, what do you need to be thinking about now when it's not a topic, so you are ready for when that comes? And that could be from an administrative level and what you're going to do to be hiring people. It can also be relevant to those that are looking to take a next step or another step, and what you should be thinking about, what the athletic departments are thinking about, so you know that. It's kind of the inside baseball conversation about what's coming up. So be sure and join us next week and pass on that information. Let me share my screen here, because I should have done that a moment ago, so you could see what's coming up. So there's what's coming next week, sports jobs, and then we'll get into focus prioritization. That's more business driven there. We've got an interesting one on July 14th, and there was a question about it today about NIL and student athlete compensation and how that's going to impact the world we just talked about, David. But I'm going to hold that question. Sorry, I'm going to hold that question for a couple of weeks. And Mitt Winter, who's a lawyer in this space, is going to talk a lot about that. He actually contacted me yesterday. Excited is the wrong word, but saying that, hey, our timing is really good. There's been another lawsuit filed against the NCAA by the same legal team that has, I guess, won or settled the last two in favor of student athletes. So there's a lot of good stuff coming. But if there is need to reach out to David or Snodgrass Partners or me on an individual need or matter, then I would encourage you to do so. You can find me at my SMU email address. info at Snodgrass Partners, or just visit their website to learn more about Snodgrass Partners. And of course, frontporchathletics.com, or reach out to David directly to either learn more or get some information or whatever it may be. But I think that's where we are for today. I really appreciate everybody coming out and joining us. So I will just like to say, David, again, thank you very much to you and to everybody. Until next week and beyond, be safe and be well. Thank you.